Hey HCDA and welcome back to Cosmoteer. This time around I want to be a little bit more serious about my shipbuilding because so far I've just been kind of winging it, but this time around I want to take some more scientific approach to it. And in order to do that I'm going to get myself some more materials. I marked up all the rare elements that I came across in the second zone that I completely cleared out of pirates, so that should give me plenty of credits and materials to work with. Okay, there we go. I cleared out all the rare resources in the area, at least the ones that I could find, and I have a stockpile of 500,000 credits along with at least twice as much of that in terms of value inside my ship. The way I want to approach this is actually by testing out quite a few different types of ship designs that have been floating around in my head ever since I started playing this game. Every time I see one of the other ships flying around, I'm like, yeah, that looks cool, I want to try that too. So let's get going and let's start with something very simple first. And here we go, I present to you the snow shovel because that is what it reminded me of. This is probably the simplest ship to build, probably also what everyone's starting ship looked like, I don't know. But all I did was basically tack on a whole row of heavy laser blasters, a couple of disruptors as well, along with some shields. These shields are all overlapping, so that should give me a nice defensive edge. I do have some armor in between the blasters in case they get destroyed and the rest of the ship. And I added in some more power and some more crew quarters, just to make sure I have everyone nicely close to where they need to go. Speaking of which, I did set up some crew roles just to make sure I have people prioritizing the guns. That would be the gunners over here. A couple of people prioritizing the shields, so I make sure that there's always someone looking after those. And then I have a couple of people here in the back specifically looking after the engines. Now the red shirts are just going to do whatever else needs to be doing, including things like hauling stuff to my production facilities over here. But I'm never going to be both fighting and producing things at the same time, so I'm pretty sure that should even itself out, so I shouldn't be understaffed, even though the guide is actually telling me that I need slightly more people than I have on the ship. But if I remove all these factories, I think I'm pretty close to where I am currently. And in order to make sure I can easily turn things on and off, I can always just assign groups to my specific facilities. For example, I have the mining lasers here. I can easily turn those on and off, and then I have all my production facilities under another group, so I can easily turn those on and off whenever I don't or do need them. Okay, so let's start with something that should hopefully be easy. Just a couple of... Oh, this is just a level 1 ship, what? Well, that took like 2 shots to kill. And there we go. I'm not even aiming at anything, I'm just barraging it because I am taking 0 damage. But these were not really worthwhile foes. So then, how about an entire pirate base in a level 4 zone? I think these ships that are defending it are either level 3 or 4. There's several of them, so let's see if we can just plow through them like the snowplower we are. I'm just gonna go straight for the reactor. It would be very nice if you would stop running away from me. Well, we can always just take out the missile platform first. That works too, but should be fine, I hope. Well, we're going to find out one way or another. Whoa, that took only like a second to clear. There we go. Let's take out this one. Let's pause and make sure that we're targeting the reactor. There we go. I am not super happy about this ship hugging my side. I should probably have taken that out first. But my turning speed is pretty okay. There we go. Now we can just give it the full barrage from the front. Let's see. Let's dig a hole through the middle first. Am I being attacked from elsewhere? It's okay so far. My shields are taking some damage, my armor is taking some damage, but all in all, we're doing just fine. Going through the middle, just a few more shots and it should be down. And now let's see if we can give the station the same treatment. Yeah, this is no problem whatsoever. Just the raw firepower on the ship is doing most of the work for me. And well, all these small platforms, I'm using like 0 tactics at the moment. I'm just literally plowing through these enemies like they're not even there. And even though that was a pretty messy fight, as you can see, I barely took any damage, and all the damage I did take I can probably easily repair just from the stuff that is floating around my ship now. Okay, so analysis time. Is this ship working? Yes. Is it optimized? Far from it. The main thing that I have a problem with is the power being so far away from where it needs to go. You can really notice these shields struggling to be powered up because of the people having to walk too far in order to actually replenish the shields. Similarly, I also don't like the fact that we're looking around this entire area. It makes the ship a lot slower than it needs to be, I think. So yeah, I think we can do better, probably just by splitting off the industrial side of the ship and then just focusing it on the actual warfare, and then maybe having a second ship on the side with a minimal crew that can just kind of follow the other ship around and just gather up all the materials while the main ship is doing the combat. I also want to play around with some different weapons than the laser batteries, but I kind of do like the laser, so I'm sticking with it for just one more version of the ship to see if we can optimize them. Okay, first things first, this is a completely optimized factory ship. Well, when I say optimized in this case, I really mean optimized for using the minimum amount of crew while still working like I wanted to. So, first of all, in the corners below here, I have the engines. The engines are going to pull at most about 3 power per second, and this one produces 4.5. That's a little bit more than what I need, but the important part is here that these medium reactor cores produce battery sizes with a capacity of 2, which makes it more efficient to resupply this. I also have a single crew quarters here with 6 crew that is going to be easily able to both man these engine rooms as well as supply power. So we have in total 4 people manning this, and then there's 2 people carrying around power. This is their main priority. They will only do something else if the engines already have full power. And then similarly over here in the corners, I have a control room that is going to be manned by 3 people and a mining laser that's going to be manned by 1 person all the time, which leaves 2 people from this crew quarters to make sure this stuff gets powered. And then similarly on the other side, I have the same setup, but in this case with a sensor array to make sure I can scout ahead. Other than that, these people will only be focused at these jobs. If that is really not needed anymore, then they're assigned to start working on the factory here in the middle, supplying and demanding basically whatever stuff that needs to go in and out here. Then last but not least, I have a little crew bunk over here for 2 people that are assigned to, in general, just carry stuff around and also operate these beam emitters in case I need to bring stuff inside my ship. Now, is this going to be a very fast producing ship? No. Is it going to be a producing ship that is able to fly around pretty quickly, jump around systems whenever needed, and in general just be an operational ship? Yeah, and I only need this to work at a slow speed because in the meanwhile I will be moving around with my other ship, my main ship, to actually destroy pirates and do stuff like that. And to show you how I've set up these roles, as you can see, I only have 26 people on this ship. We have a massive amount of storage space, so this is going to be hovering up all the stuff that I can find. And just like I said in the beginning, I have the people here assigned to the engines, and then if needed to the arrays as well as the production facilities, but with a lower priority. Same on this side and same here in the corners. Just the people here in the middle, the 2 guys over here in the middle that are not doing anything in particular, so they will be running around the ship clearing things up. Now, I'm not going to lie, if I would have a couple more of these red shirts running around, the ship would be a lot more efficient, but at least for now it's working. And the nice thing is you can just queue up a whole lot of orders, for example in an asteroid field, while you're doing something with your offensive ship. And in the meanwhile, this will just be gathering resources, processing them, etc, without you having to wait for that. 26 people on my industrial ship leaves me 63 people on my offensive kind of combat ship, and I'm hoping that's going to be enough because, well, I have to tackle level 7 quests at least to get any further reputation to start working my way to further increasing my crew. If I can manage though, I'm going to gain a whole lot of crew to add to my ship, so that should be very nice. Now here is my attempt at my last version for now of the laser ship. The principle that I applied throughout the ship this time around is just making sure that every system has a dedicated power source and a dedicated crew, all packed together as close as I could get them. Now, in this case, the shield generator has 2 crew assigned to it and a small generator, because I think that's going to be enough. The duo of heavy laser blasters over here have a larger reactor core attached to that, mostly because this produces batteries that have a size of 2, so it's a little bit more efficient to carry around a battery that gives 2 power rather than a battery that gives 1 power. And there's 6 crew in total. 4 of them are going to be manning the guns and 2 of them are going to be running around supplying the power. I repeated that all across the right side of the ship, and I mirrored it on the other side. Then finally we have the engine room over here with again 6 crew dedicated to that. There's 2 of them in here all the time, and then the other 4 are going to make sure there's enough power going to those systems, because once these are actually running, then they are going to need quite a bit of power actually. And then, of course, I have the cockpit here in the middle, hidden behind as much armor as I could get. And again, this has a dedicated crew assigned to it. These people are just going to sit around in the control room all the time. You might also notice that this ship has a different orientation than all the ships I've made so far. This is actually flying diagonally, so if I look at the construction layout, you can see it's on a diagonal, and that means that I have an easier time making sure all the guns are kind of hidden behind armor, but also not taking the full brunt of enemy fire, but can still aim to the front, so I can still hit whatever I need to be targeting. And in the meanwhile, the thrusters are also going to make my ship a little bit more agile at the expense of not being actually aimed to the back, at least not straight to the back. So because they are at an angle, they will lose a little bit of thrusting power, but it does make my ship a lot easier to maneuver. This is complete overkill probably, these engines, but they are definitely going to be useful maneuvering around. I actually added in a couple of boost thrusters on the front as well, so I can slow down more easily and make sure I keep my range from my enemies whenever possible. And even though this ship looks a little flimsy because it's really thin, it actually has more firepower than the shovel I showed you before, and it also should have more defenses because it's a lot easier to make sure that these shield generators keep on working. And on top of that, it's also faster than my other ship because of all the extra engines here. Will this actually be able to defeat level 7 enemies? Well, only one way to find out. Okay, so here is a level 7 enemy. It doesn't look too threatening, although it does have a giant ion cannon on the front here. Let's take out the engine so it can't keep its distance. And then actually what I want to do is, let's see if I can abuse the rotation speed that I have. Let's attack it from the side, see if that works. Because it can't shoot at me if it can't aim at me. There we go. That's working like intended. Just keep rotating, just keep rotating. That's just fine. Probably not from that far away though, because we're fighting in this cloud, which is kind of annoying. You can probably start shooting at this now. There we go. Well, this was actually super easy. Got lucky a little bit with the typical enemy that I'm outmaneuvering now. It's working. That's kind of the plan, but it feels like I'm cheating a little bit, so let's find another level 7 enemy to test this out for real. Okay, so how about a level 7 quest to rescue this station, and it's actually being attacked by 2 different enemies, so hold on. Let me fire at some of these engines, because this is again one of those ion cannon dudes. But it's going to bring a friend if I'm not careful, so let's make sure we destroy it before it can do that. That shouldn't be too hard by the looks of it. I'm actually not out-rotating it, which I probably should have done. But anyway, it's down. Let's see about his friend. Nothing too threatening here. There's a lot of guns on the outside. Let's just take those out. We should be able to take down a level 6 enemy, I should say. The shields are keeping up just fine. Losing some armor in the front, but that's to be expected since there's no protection there. And as long as this doesn't get completely destroyed, I should be fine. Yeah, I think we have a level 7 competent fighter in development over here with this little Snowpiercer. Blowing up a whole bunch of level 7 pirates made me noteworthy, which means we need to move on to level 8 quests. Which means it's time to move on to a new weapon, because even though I kind of like the lasers, they are really impactful, they do have the downside of being quite vulnerable. As soon as anything takes down these shields, basically my ship is kind of toast. I'm thinking maybe we should go for another ammo-less weapon, which is the ion beam. It sounds really interesting. It has a very long range, and you can aim it at an ion prism to kind of recombine those beams into a single big laser. Sounds really cool. Let's see if we can make it work. So how about something like this? I'm calling it the ice pick to stick with the theme, and let's see the interior. I have a whole bunch of these ion beam emitters over here that are staffed in such a way that I have enough people to both carry the power to it as well as man the actual station. And then every one of these ion beam emitters is locked into an ion beam prism, which is then combined and recombined, and I do that several times around, and that gives me a pretty hefty ion beam moving forward. I also put a lot of engines on this ship because what I'm thinking is, considering the range on these things, I want to make sure I can keep my distance from my enemies, so I have about as much thrust forward as I have backwards, and that should hopefully mean that I can just outrange everything that is trying to come to me while shooting at them in the meanwhile. Okay, let's see if this is working like intended. We have a ship over here. Let's pause for a moment. It's only level 2-1, but we can see if we can make this work. What is the range on this? It is really large. Let's do that like this. Let's make sure we save that attack default so we always stay at that range. Then we have a couple of boosters that I can now enable to make sure I can get into reverse really quickly. Oh, it's already dead. Well, let's try that again. Okay, so let's see if we can take out a pirate base like this. It is trying to message me. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. This is a level 6 ship. We are firing at it and then look at it. We're just outrunning it. Oh, this one does have missiles, which are going to impact me. Oh, it's just some EMPs. Nothing too dangerous. But that is going to be a problem in the long run. Let's see if we can also take out these missile turrets while we're at it. I do wonder how much of a problem these missiles are going to be, because this is a lot of damage incoming. We do have quite a bit of armor though, so let's see if we can take it out before it takes us out. Helps if we actually focus our fire a little bit more, ship. I'm not entirely sure why it's just shooting at random, at least that's how it feels like, and yeah, we are taking quite a bit of damage. So let's see if we can make some improvements to the ship before we, you know, end up dying. So I present to you the Ice Pick V2. The layout is pretty much the same, but the main differences is that I added in a couple of these large shield generators in the front and a whole lot of point defense. These are going to be taking out those missiles that were hitting me before, and these shields should hopefully take care of any straggling missiles that hit me anyway, or maybe a couple of those iron prisons that were shooting at me before, just so I don't instantly blow up when that happens. So let's see if this fixes the whole missile turret problem that we had before. Let's fire at the middle. We have missiles incoming, and look at that point defense. They are taking out every missile, I think. I don't think a single one of them has gotten through so far. I'm just sitting here firing at the enemy while it's firing its missiles at me. The missiles actually do run out at some point, so you can always just come back later. But there we go, missile turret taken out, and then we should be able to move on to the station itself. I don't think this one has any missiles, does it? Nope. So we just stand here. We took out all the other defenses already, and now we can just burrow into the pirate station and destroy it very easily. If you thought that was easy, let me show you something even easier. Normally, if you fight in clouds like this, you would have to get pretty close because, you know, you can't shoot at what you can't see. Unless, of course, you put something to a hotkey and you just set your weapons to auto-fire non-stop. As you can see, I'm now shooting at this enemy and destroyed this enemy, even though I didn't see what I was shooting at, and you can just keep repeating that for every single thing. I have another pirate base over here. Let me speed things up a little bit. I can just keep drilling at it. It does help if you're not shooting through an asteroid though, but let me do it like this. There we go. And we are just shooting at it. It doesn't even know that it's being attacked, and we can do the same thing for the pirate base. As you can see, it's taking damage. It's slowly being drilled at. Maybe we move a little bit closer and then we keep shooting at it once more. And there we go. That was an entire pirate base. So as it turns out, a lot of these ion beams and prisms combined with a lot of speed so you can get away from your enemies is a pretty good way to fight. It's a little bit boring though, I have to say. But it's an insanely easy way to clear out the map, which is exactly what I've done. However, I want to try one more different type of ship. I present to you the Hammerhead. This is a very interesting layout that I went with, which is basically a lot of these deck cannons in here that are going to consume some ammunition. So I have a couple of these cannon ammo factories in front of them as well, and a whole lot of shielding. The nice thing about these deck cannons is that you can place them inside of your ship, so you don't need to have them on the outside exposed. And between this armor and these shields, I'm hoping that that will give me plenty of protection, because these things do not actually have a very long range. It's only like 190 meters, I believe. Yeah, so it's like half of that of the prisms, so I will have to get close with my enemies. I did add in some of these point defense things as well, just to make sure I don't die from missiles while I'm on my way to the enemy. But yeah, this is going to be a completely different style of fighting that hopefully is a little bit more satisfying than just shooting everything from range. Only one way to find out though. Let's see what we are going up against here. Level 9 ship. Oh, look at that. That is some pretty hefty impact this is making. I am taking quite a bit of damage though, but at least it felt like I was taking a lot of damage, but it's only hull damage actually, so we can very easily repair from that from the ship that we just destroyed. So that was a level 9 ship, very easily destroyed. I do have to say, let's pause for a moment, that we are up to, I think, a level 10 quest now, so we should be able to handle those pretty easily. And we also have a maximum crew of 196, which means I was able to fit in a couple of extra guns compared to what we were doing before. And let's try that once more. What do we have over here? A level 10 ship. Let's just go straight for the thingy. The point defense is doing its job. I'm just gonna hug the ship. There we go. Well, that didn't take very long. Did take some damage from the back. What's attacking me? Oh, that was just a stray missile there. Let's see. Did I take a lot of damage? Nope. So what I'm finding is that this ship is way more satisfying to kill your enemies with. Just from the raw damage it's doing, it's really impactful. You can actually impact through the shields, through the armor, quite far into the ship with just a couple of shots. The problem with this is that you do need to take full damage from the enemy while you're on your way towards the enemy. So yeah, if anything gets through, especially with the amount of reactors which I have in here, which is probably way too much. But yeah. If something starts blowing up on my ship is pretty much dead. So this is not really a brawling ship. I would probably have to add in a lot more armor for this to work in a more kind of attrition style type of battle where you're really up against the enemy for a longer time. Well, that said, the enemy actually has very similar looking designs than what I just did. Look at this. This is just a whole row of heavy lasers and some disruptors to take out your enemy. I'm not sure I'm going to fare very well against this, however. Let's find out. Look at that damage. I mean, that's great. However, yeah, I just got taken out myself as well. So you can definitely see that this works great if you can take the damage and destroy the enemy before it destroys you. But it's far from perfect in terms of the design. Speaking of design, look at this. How many cannons can you fit on a single ship? The designing part of this game is super fun. And I do have to say, the AI has some really, really interesting ships as well. I'm not entirely sure that these are necessarily designs you would want to use yourself, because you can see from the design of this ship is not designed to produce anything. It's not designed to carry anything. It's probably not even designed to take more than a single battle, because all of this actually does require some ammunition. I'm not sure where it's storing its ammunition, but it will run out really, really quickly just from the amount of guns that are on here. But still, it looks quite awesome. But even though my designs are probably far from perfect, the Hammerhead itself was able to carry me all the way to the level 11, the quest that I now need to complete to get further beyond the acclaimed level. I can now have a crew of up to almost 250, which is quite exciting because now I have a couple of ideas for the next episode to see if we can just mix it up a little bit more. I do have to say the dual ship approach is really enjoyable because you can have one ship mining while the other ship does the fighting. It does save you some time. You have somewhere to store all your stuff, and it doesn't need to be on your main ship that you take into combat. So all in all, it was very enjoyable to try all of this out. And generally speaking, just progress quite far actually through the game already, because we're now taking on level 11 quests. I think it goes up to... was it 18, I believe? 16, 17, 18, yeah. So we have the kind of the main quests over here, the last quest in the center of these zones that go all the way up to level 18. So we still have a ways to go. We are definitely increasing our ship size, although the ship size do get a lot larger still. 1,500. I'm not entirely sure what a ship looks like with 1,500 crew on board, but we're going to find out one way or another. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're still here, you are awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.